Stephen A. Smith. He interviewed Candace Owens this week. Some people are making a mistake and thinking that Stephen A. has some interest perhaps in running as a Republican or launching a political career as a Republican. I don't think he's a hardcore Democrat. He's just pretending that he's a reasonable Democrat. But here's Stephen A. Smith praising Candace Owens after his interview with her.
And when that young lady speaks, don't even think about challenging her intelligence. Don't even think about challenging her ability to articulate her point of view. You better know what the hell you're talking about when you come at her.
I want to play one more. Here's Stephen A. on Jimmy Fallon, once again, talking about politics and his political career.
Headlines here, Stephen A. Smith for president. Could Stephen A. Smith save the Democratic Party? I mean, what's going on? What does this mean?
Folks are nuts, number one. Number two, you know, I mean, the Democratic Party, I mean, they lost. They had a bad few months. We all know this. And even though there's a lot of qualified Democrats all over the country from a local perspective, governors, mayors, stuff like that, there's no real national voice. Until moi. They've come to me. And so, I mean, I did not ask for this. I don't want this. I happen to have a very, very, very good life, very good job. I'm good, very good.
Yes, I know.
And, you know, they want to talk. They even got me in the polls, man. They got, I think the number's up to like 7.6%. I watch these things.
Yes.
And I'm saying, wait a minute now. I don't want to do this. But the fact that they're talking about me this way, I must say, I approve this message.
Oh my
Stephen A. Smith is running for president. There's no question. Every night he's just hopping from show to show to show. You don't think so? Why is he hopping show to show to show?
Well,
The View, Fallon, this podcast, Candace Owens interview. What else could he be doing?
Well, he loves having his ego stroked. He really does. And I saw the interview. I thought it was an intellectual mismatch. Candace Owens, I thought ran straight. Look, if there should be a broadcast personality that should run for president or any type of office, it would be Candace. It is not Stephen A. Smith. I mean, what's that old saying? He's a mile wide and a foot deep. That's him. And I was watching some of that interview, and there's this one point where he goes, oh, yeah, this is why I brought you on. I didn't know that. I'm like, oh, God. Well, Stephen, there's a lot you don't know because you're not that intelligent when it comes to this. You're really not. And you're a bit of a caricature. You like to bloviate. You give great sound bites. But that interview right there would have shown that in a debate setting with more serious people, he would be completely overmatched. He also said, I would have voted for any Republican except Donald Trump. Again, that's him not having enough guts to take a position. You know, the one thing I do like about Candace, whether I agree or disagree with her or not, because that's irrelevant. No one's going to agree with anybody on everything. Okay? But when she takes a hardline position, she does not try to soften it in any way. In other words, she plants her flag and she says, this is what I think. And if you don't like it, I don't care. The issue with Stephen A. Smith is I don't think he has guts. I really don't, because every time he says something positive about the Republicans, you can almost do a countdown and say, okay, here's where he's going to try to couch it. But there's other things I don't like about them, but I'm really, and I love this term. This is the biggest cop-out. I am a fiscal conservative, but I'm a liberal socially. That means you're trying to please everybody. And when you try to please everybody, you really please nobody.
Steve, I think you're right that he has no guts and maybe doesn't have the stomach for political office. But, you know, I think the same thing could be said of Joe Biden and many that the system generally rewards people without the courage of their
But
convictions.
he was a career politician, though. That's the difference, though. He was into this swamp, swam in it for 50 years, had a magical ability to do nothing but to have people believe, man, that guy's fighting for us, right? But look, as a politician, I believe you have to be able to take hardline stances and stick with them. I hate this fake forced neutrality where if you say one good thing about something here, well, to give the air that you're unbiased, you have to say something you really don't mean nice about the other side. Why? At what point? I mean, to me, our jobs as a journalist is to call it down the middle. And people don't understand what that means. That means telling the truth every single time. That does not mean doling out criticism and praise 5-5 each side. That to me is being that right there. You do that type of stuff, you know you're being dishonest.
Let me argue just a little bit the other side here, because I can't fully commit to this position, but I can say it's a thought that ran through my mind in real time as I was like, oh, Stephen A. is interviewing Candace Owens. He's having her on the show. He praised her after the show. He praised her during the show. What do you say to someone like me who, and people are about to be bowled over that I'm going to say this, but I thought it took a measure of courage, and I was impressed that Stephen A. Smith interviewed Candace Owens, put her on his platform, and treated her like a normal, smart, someone worthy of being listened to. I thought that took a measure of courage from Stephen A. Smith.
It did. I give him credit for that, but what else was he going to say when I thought Candace talked circles around him in terms of some of the substantive issues as it relates to Zelensky and Ukraine and NATO? He didn't even know what she was talking about, honestly. Because when someone is that much more learned or intelligent or well-read or researched on a topic, what else can you say? I mean, the thing is, Stephen A. is getting a lot of credit for stating the obvious. Yeah, well, the Democrats, they have had a rough few months. Stephen, if you were actually paying attention, they've had a rough 4 years. They did this to themselves. But for him to say, but I wouldn't vote for anyone, I would have voted for anyone in the Republic except Trump. Again, I believe he's playing to his base. He doesn't want a certain segment of America upset at him, because I would argue Trump was the only guy with enough guts to actually take on the Democrats and take the election November 5th, 2024.
Here's why I would say, and you're right, his statements about Trump are cowardly. He doesn't believe them. They're cowardly. It's just pandering. I get it. But, and maybe, and I don't want to say you're unaware, but maybe you're not so far down the political rabbit hole, particularly as it relates to the media space. But there is a segment of media that want Candace Owens treated like she's Attila the Hun or the worst person on the planet. And how dare you engage with Candace Owens? People will, and trust me, I know it because it happens to me on a daily basis, and it's happened to me for years, and I've seen it happen to Candace Owens now. People will hop in your DMs and tell you, oh, you shouldn't associate with Candace Owens. You should, oh, how could you like that tweet or retweet this tweet, blah, blah. There's a penalty. And trust me, it's been going on with me for years. There's the little quiet campaign in people's DMs and text messages. Oh, pretend like anything Jason Whitlock says is the worst thing on the planet, or never engage with Jason Whitlock. Again, there are many people in the media who I know very well, are friends of mine, supporters of mine, people that, been friends with for years, but they know there's a price for public engagement with me that they've chosen. Hey, I can't do it. I can talk to you on the DL, but out publicly, can't do it. And I have to pretend like you and your thoughts are beyond the pale. that's where I will. People that they're just baffled by me and just how. And I'm not trying to brag on myself, but I'm committed to being objective. And so when I see even someone like Stephen A. Smith, who I have no respect for, when I see him do something that I do respect, I'm just going to have to say it and admit it.
Right.
And I'm pleased that he shared his platform with Candace Owens and treated her like a real human being.
Yeah, and that you're absolutely right. But here's the problem. Instead of just doing it and leaving it at that, he will do or say things then to actually appease the other side. He's really good at appeasing everybody. And to me, I'm like, okay, I question the sincerity of everything you say at that point. That's just the way I feel about it. And after that particular interview, and you actually dissect what each said in terms of what they brought to the table and the conversation, Stephen A. had to be honest with himself and say, God, you know what? I am not her equal when it comes to this. And I'm thinking to myself, okay. And so that's the guy certain people are. Look, the fact that he's even being mentioned, maybe in a farcical or a comical way, and some people seemingly take this more seriously than I do. The fact that Stephen A. Smith is even being considered a candidate shows you how far that party has fallen on that side.
If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a moment of Fearless.